Welcome to NewsTrack YouTube channel. In today's video, we share the latest updates on celebrities who sadly passed away today. We remember their lives, achievements, and the impact they had on fans around the world. Our thoughts go out to their families and loved ones during this difficult time. Stay updated with real-time news on celebrity deaths and tributes from the entertainment industry. Rosanna Norton. Rosanna Norton dies at 80. Rosanna Norton, who was Oscar-nominated for costume design for 1982's Tron and designed Sissy Spacek's iconic prom dress for Carrie, died of cancer May 7th in Los Angeles. She was 80. Her early costume design credits include Terrence Malick's Badlands and Brian De Palma's Carrie, and Phantom of the Paradise. "We had no money," she recalled in a video interview about Carrie. She found many of the prom outfits in a store in the Valley that was going out of business, she said, but she had Carrie's simple pale pink satin dress custom-made by a seamstress, after changing the color from the original red in the book to create a more striking contrast with the blood that is splashed on Spacek. At the time, prom dresses and bridesmaid dresses and things were very fussy. They had all these ruffles and detail, and I wanted to do a bias cut dress, and I wanted it to be really simple and look as if she could have made it herself, she told Birth Movie's Death. "It didn't have a lot of ruffles or detail work. It's sort of a classic 1930s bias cut dress. I wanted her to look different from everybody else but beautiful at the same time, and all the other girls, they looked like teenage girls wearing these sort of roughly fancy gathered dresses." Norton was a lifelong Angeleno, and while attending UCLA, she met her husband-to-be Bill Norton. Norton was the writer and director of Cisco Pike, for which she served as production designer and costume designer. She joined the Costume Directors Guild in 1975 and went on to mentor many members of the guild. Norton explained her luck in connecting with directors in a statement from the guild, saying, "I would have been a painter." David H. Souter. David H. Souter dies at 85. The late retired Justice David H. Souter's time on the Supreme Court has become paradigmatic of profound change on the court, as his 19-year tenure straddled an era of increasing polarization in the nation's politics and helped shape the modern era of judicial confirmations. Souter, who passed away Thursday at his home in New Hampshire according to a Supreme Court announcement, retired from the High Court in 2009, and the vacancy was filled by current Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Souter, 85, had been appointed to the Supreme Court by Republican President George H.W. Bush in 1990, but his tendency to side with Democratic appointees to the court on issues such as abortion rights led to cries of "no more Souters" among conservatives who increasingly sought ideologically aligned justices. Ilya Shapiro, currently a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, told the Biden administration's Commission on the Supreme Court in 2021 that Souter's time on the bench substantially shaped the confirmation process. Shapiro said the conservative legal movement learned its lesson from Souter's time on the court, with activists placing more emphasis on would-be justices' proven track record of conservative decisions or writings. Once you consider someone who doesn't have a long judicial record, or at least academic writings to the same originalist textualist effect, it opens the door to the sort of presidential discretion that has backfired in the past, Shapiro wrote. Shapiro said that has led to increased vetting for ideological purity and efforts like President Donald Trump's decision to publish a list of potential Supreme Court nominees during his initial 2016 run for office. Simon Mann. Simon Mann dies at 72. Simon Mann, an Eton and Sandhurst-educated ex-SAS officer who led a botched coup involving Margaret Thatcher's son to overthrow the government of Equatorial Guinea, has died aged 72. Mann led a group of 70 fellow mercenaries who were arrested in Zimbabwe in 2004 for attempting to topple Equatorial Guinea's despotic president, Teodoro Obiang. Mann and his friend Mark Thatcher admitted involvement in the attempted plot, which became known as the When the plot was revealed, Obiang threatened to eat Mann's testicles and drag his naked body through the streets. Mann served more than 5 years in two of the world's most notorious jails before being pardoned by Obiang himself. In March 2004, Mann, Nick Dutoit, and 3 other South African mercenaries plotted Obiang's overthrow with international financial backers and the tacit approval of at least 3 governments, most notably Spain. The coup involved flying into the former Spanish colony in a plane loaded with arms and more than 50 Black Buffalo soldiers. Former members of the now disbanded South African Defense Forces Elite 32 Battalion to replace Obiang with an exiled opposition activist called Severo Moto. In return, the plotters and their backers were hoping to tap into Equatorial Guinea's reserves of oil and natural gas, but their plane was intercepted by the Zimbabweans at Harare Airport. A jubilant President Robert Mugabe threw Mann and his fellow conspirators into jail before handing them over to Equatorial Guinea, where a court sentenced the mercenary to 34 years in jail. In a note sent out to his legal team while he was being held, Mann implicated Thatcher, whom he referred to by the name Scratcher, in the coup. Chet Lemon. Chet Lemon dies at 70. Chet Lemon, a product of Los Angeles Fremont High during its heyday, who became a three-time All-Star outfielder and a World Series champion during a 16-year Major League career, died Thursday at age 70 after a decades-long fight with a blood disorder. Lemon was a first-round draft pick of the Oakland Athletics at age 17 in 1972 and starred with the Chicago White Sox from 1975 to 81 and the Detroit Tigers from 1982 to 90, finishing with a .273 batting average, 215 homers, 396 doubles, and 884 runs batted in. He was the center fielder on the Tigers' 1984 World Series championship team, making a spectacular catch to cement a Game 3 victory over the San Diego Padres, and became a favorite of eventual Hall of Fame manager Sparky Anderson. After watching Chester the last several years, I have to say, without a doubt, he's the best center fielder I've seen in my 31 years in the game, Anderson said in 1984. Chester is a Pete Rose type. He never complains, he's always there, and he plays each game as if it were the 7th game of the World Series. Chester doesn't know any other way to play, and that's his greatest asset. Combine all that with his little boy desire to want to play every day, and it is no wonder Chester has all those fans who sit in the bleachers in the palm of his hand. The Tigers and White Sox both posted condolences on X. The Detroit Tigers join all of baseball in mourning the passing of Chet Lemon, the Tigers' statement read. While he was a World Series champion and all-star on the field, perhaps his biggest impact came off of it. That includes creating the Chet Lemon Foundation and dedicating much of his post-playing career to youth baseball development. Fred Graham. Fred Graham dies at 96. The arts world is in mourning after the passing of one of the true icons of Ne'Toi Maori, Fred Graham, at the age of 96. A beloved artist, mentor, and educator, Graham has remained a relevant figure in the art world, just last week unveiling a major new sculpture, Te Manu Rangi Mari, at Taupiri. Graham, Ngati Koroki Kahukura, is still a global attraction, chosen as one of the New Zealand artists to be part of this year's Venice Biennale International Exhibition. It's just one of many overseas exhibitions Graham has been involved with, including the 1986 Te Ao Marama, 7 Maori Artists exhibition that toured Australia, and a 1992 United States tour showcasing contemporary Maori art. He was named a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit in the 2025 New Year's Honours list, which he was due to receive later this month, and was preparing for the opening of his latest exhibition, Fred Graham, Toi Wakata, Reflections, at Christchurch Art Gallery, opening the 31st of May. As the Arts Foundation pointed out in its social media post, even in his final days, his legacy was growing. Graham's service to Maori art dates back to the 1950s. He was an art advisor to Maori primary schools throughout Rotorua and Northland, has been head of the art department at various schools throughout the North Island, and he has played a key role in inspiring and developing the next generation of artistic talent as a mentor and advocate. He was a pioneer of the contemporary Maori art movement, and in 1966, he was a key figure in organizing one of the first exhibitions of contemporary Maori painting and sculptures in Hamilton, part of what is known as the Class of '66, with the likes of Cliff Whiting and Paratine Matchett. Margot Friedlander. Margot Friedlander dies at 103. A survivor and witness to the Nazi Holocaust, and a prominent voice in modern-day Germany, passed away on Friday at the age of 103. Friedlander spent part of the war years hiding in Berlin before she was taken to the Theresienstadt concentration camp in 1944. She emigrated to the United States shortly after the end of the war, only moving back to the German capital in 2010 at the age of 88. Friedlander appeared on the cover of the German Vogue last year. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier expressed his condolences, saying that Friedlander gifted our country reconciliation. Steinmeier was due to honor Friedlander with a state medal on Friday. Germany's new Chancellor Friedrich Merz praised Friedlander for speaking up for, quote, peaceful cooperation against anti-Semitism and forgetting. She entrusted us with her story. It is our task and our duty to pass it on, Merz said. Everybody knew about it and they looked away. After her return to Germany, Friedlander gave numerous speeches and visited many German schools to talk with children and young people. I often ask myself if coming back here was the right thing to do, Friedlander said in A Long Way Home, a 2010 documentary co-produced by DW. In the same film, she admitted to uncomfortable feelings around some Berliners. I'm still very guarded about the people of my generation whom I meet here. They were the ones who cheered the Nazis back then, and did nothing to put a stop to what was going on. Everybody knew about it, and they looked away. Although I came back, it's still something that affects me very deeply. In recent years, Friedlander was awarded many state honors as a prominent voice for remembrance. She also opened the Margot Friedlander Foundation in 2023. Tom Farmer. Tom Farmer dies at 84. John Swinney has paid tribute to the, quote, profound impact of Sir Tom Farmer after the Scottish businessman died at the age of 84. Sir Tom, who founded the garage chain Quick Fit and was also a former director of My Travel Group and Scottish Power, died at his Edinburgh home on Friday. He owned a majority stake in Hibernian Football Club for 28 years, selling his interest in 2019 to U.S. businessman Ron Gordon. The First Minister hailed him as a, quote, generous individual to so many causes in Scotland. Scottish Secretary Ian Murray said he was a proud Scot and a huge contributor to Edinburgh's community football. His family said in a statement on Saturday that Sir Tom's life and career touched many aspects of Scottish and UK life, and his philanthropy would be remembered. They added, more than anything, Sir Tom was a family man. Born in Leith, Edinburgh, in 1940, he was the youngest of 7 children. He frequently spoke of the love, care, and attention that was bestowed upon him by being the youngest in such a large family. Sir Tom started Quick Fit in 1971 and grew it to become an international chain before selling it to Ford for £1 billion in 1999. He was knighted in 1997 for his services to the automotive industry and made a Commander of the Royal Victorian Order in 2009 for his charitable work, including as chairman of the Board of Trustees for the Duke of Edinburgh's award. He was the first Scot to be awarded the prestigious Andrew Carnegie Medal for philanthropy, and was made a Knight Commander with Star of the Order of St. Gregory the Great by the Catholic Church. The First Minister released a statement on Saturday afternoon. Tom Jones. Tom Jones? His voice was thunder-wrapped in velvet, a sound that rose from the soul and shook the world. For decades, he stood on stages across the globe, belting out anthems of love, longing, and life with a power few could rival. Songs like It's Not Unusual, Delilah and She's a Lady didn't just top charts, they became part of who we are. But now, as the music dims and the spotlight softens, a more somber truth is emerging. His health is failing, and the risk of further decline is growing. Once a man of unstoppable energy and magnetic presence, Tom now faces days that are slower, quieter. Illness and age have taken their toll, and though he still smiles when he can, the fight is harder than it's ever been. His voice, once commanding, defiant, is now fragile, spoken more than sung. His steps are careful, his strength often fleeting, and behind the scenes, those who love him most are preparing for what may come. It's not easy to witness a legend become vulnerable, but in this moment of stillness, we remember what made him great. Tom Jones wasn't just a performer, he was a voice for generations, a man who made audiences feel deeply, dance freely, and believe in something bigger than themselves. Though he may no longer stand beneath the lights as he once did, his legacy glows brighter than ever. The songs remain, the performances remain, the love, undiminished. We may be watching the final chapter unfold, but it is a chapter wrapped in honor and love. For all he gave, for every note and every emotion he poured into the world, we hold him now in our hearts, with gratitude, with admiration, and with the hope that he feels all the love he gave return to him 1,000 times over. Koyo Kuo. Koyo Kuo dies at 58. Koyo Kuo, the curator of the 2026 Venice Art Biennale, has died at age 58, her home institution in South Africa said in an Instagram post Saturday. The Zeitz Museum of Contemporary Art Africa in Cape Town in South Africa confirmed her passing overnight but gave no cause of death. The Biennale said Saturday it was deeply saddened and dismayed to learn of her death. Kuo was the first African woman tapped to helm the Venice Biennale. Born in Cameroon in 1967, she was tapped to curate the 2026 edition of the Biennale in December. A leading figure in promoting Pan-Africanism throughout the art world, Kuo had been executive director and chief curator at Zeitz since 2019. Appointed in December 2024 by the board of directors of La Biennale, Kuo worked with passion, intellectual rigor, and vision on the conception and development of the Biennale Arte 2026, the Venice Arts Institution said. The presentation of the exhibition's title and theme was due to take place in Venice on May 20th. Her passing leaves an immense void in the world of contemporary art and in the international community of artists, curators, and scholars who had the privilege of knowing and admiring her extraordinary human and intellectual commitment, the Biennale said. It extended, quote, its deepest sympathies and affection to Kuo's family and friends, and, quote, all those who shared with her a journey of research and critical thought on contemporary art. In a statement, Italy's Premier Giorgia Meloni on Saturday expressed her deepest condolences for, quote, premature and sudden passing, noting it, quote, leaves a void in the world of contemporary art. Johnny Rodriguez. Johnny Rodriguez dies at 73. Johnny Rodriguez, a trailblazing Hispanic figure in country music, has died at the age of 73. His daughter, Aubrey Rodriguez, confirmed her father's passing in a heartfelt social media post on Friday, May 9th. The late Mexican-American singer had entered hospice care earlier in the week, according to Saving Country Music. It is with profound sadness and heavy hearts that we announce the passing of our beloved Johnny Rodriguez, who left us peacefully on May 9th, surrounded by family. Aubrey wrote on Instagram, Dad was not only a legendary musician whose artistry touched millions around the world, but also a deeply loved husband, father, uncle, and brother, whose warmth, humor, and compassion shaped the lives of all who knew him. She continued, we are immensely grateful for the outpouring of love and support from fans, colleagues, and friends during this time of grief. Aubrey concluded her tribute by calling her father an, quote, irreplaceable and an extraordinary talent, and requested privacy for the family as they, quote, navigate this painful moment together. Born Juan Rodriguez in Sabinal, Texas in 1951, Rodriguez was discovered at 18 by music promoter Happy Shahan after he was heard singing in a jail cell, where he was briefly held for a minor offense, according to a Ken Burns biography on PBS.org. Rodriguez's musical influences ranged from mariachi to honky-tonk, shaped by his South Texas upbringing. I was drawn to country music because I could relate more to what they were singing about, he told Burns. And also, it was just like the music of our people. In Mexican music, you have stories. Mexican music and country music said almost the same thing, just in different languages, he said. Greg Canham. Greg Canham dead at 74. Today, we've received word via the leaders of the makeup FX community that special effects makeup legend Greg Canham has passed away at the age of 74. Canham's career began in the late 1970s on films like It Lives Again and The Fury, before it expanded to films like Vamp and the third Nightmare on Elm Street film, and ultimately landed him in the annals of horror history when he created the makeup effects for films like The Lost Boys, The Exorcist III, Alien 3, Idle Hands, Hannibal, and many, many more. His most recent credit was as the co-designer of the prosthetics for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, the autobiographical film starring Jessica Chastain as the frenetic televangelist. Over the course of his career, Greg Canham won 4 Academy Awards, 3 for Best Makeup, for Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mrs. Doubtfire, and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and 1 for Best Makeup and Hairstyling for Vice. He was also awarded a Technical Achievement Award by the Academy in 2005. His work also won him 2 Saturn Awards for The Lost Boys and Benjamin Button, and 3 awards from the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild. 2 years ago, Variety reported that a GoFundMe had been set up for Canham, who at the time was experiencing major health issues, including a case of nerve damage from shingles and a partial amputation of one of his legs. The fundraiser did ultimately raise $100,000 for the artist, surpassing its initial goal of $75,000. Greg Canham, the masterful prosthetics and makeup specialist who received Oscars for his work on Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mrs. Doubtfire, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and Vice, has died. He was 73. Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson has always been a fire on screen, a storm of emotion, conviction, and raw power. From the battle cries of Braveheart to the quiet torment in The Passion of the Christ, his work has left deep imprints on the fabric of cinema. He has lived many lives through his characters: warrior, rebel, savior, sinner. But behind the powerful roles and larger-than-life presence, Mel is now facing a far more personal human struggle. His health is in serious decline, and those closest to him fear the worst may be near. Once a man defined by relentless energy, sharp intellect, and unwavering passion, Mel now moves more slowly. The strength that once carried entire films and commanded entire sets is fading. Age and illness have crept in, and though he still carries that familiar glint in his eyes, it's dimmed by fatigue and fragility. The days are quieter. The risks are greater. It's a difficult truth for fans and loved ones alike. Mel has always been complicated, flawed, brilliant, intense, but always deeply human. And now, as his body grows weaker, the world begins to reflect not only on his controversial past, but on the undeniable beauty of the art he created and the emotion he stirred in millions. His voice may no longer echo on set, and the camera may no longer roll, but Mel's legacy lives on, in scenes that broke our hearts and lines that stirred our souls. In stories that changed the way we see sacrifice, redemption, and courage. We hold him now not as a star, but as a man, one who gave, one who burned brightly, one who is now in need of gentleness, peace, and dignity. As the risks grow and the shadows lengthen, the world watches with gratitude and hope. And we say, simply, thank you, Mel.